What does the future of education really look like for that next generation of parents and students? I'm Mike Loader.
And I'm Greg Campitelli.
Welcome to Beyond Education. Welcome back to Beyond Education, presented by the team at Inquiry Tracker, where each episode we examine the way we teach, listen and learn from primary education to university and beyond. Today we're looking ahead to what's next for education with someone who's been tracking these changes for decades. Joining me now, as usual, is my co-host and co-founder of Inquiry Tracker, Greg Campitelli. Greg, great to see you.
Great to be on the program, Mike, but we've got a very special guest today that we want to bring in at the top of the program, so let's
not muck around. Our guest is Mark McCrindle, founder and CEO of McCrindle Research, a leading social analyst, demographer, and the man who coined the term Generation Alpha. Welcome to you, Mark. It's good to see you.
Good to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
No worries at all. Mark, you coined the term Gen Alpha, those born between 2010 and 2024. What sets that generation apart from those who came before them? Let's start there.
Yeah, well, they're the first generation fully born in this 21st century, a world of AI and devices. 2010, the year they began being born, was the year the iPad was released and Instagram was launched. So that says something about the digital times that have shaped them from their earliest years.
It's incredible, really. Mark, you've worked with industries across education, health, finance. What major changes do you see shaping schools over the next 10 years? I know it's hard to do it over the next 5 years, but let's see what you think.
Well, massive changes. Never before has education been more accessible and more flexible in terms of delivery and pathways and technologies and varieties, more global, but also more vulnerable to disruption. And that's been a big change and a big challenge. We found in this recent study that despite parents being busier than ever and schools being more professional and sophisticated than ever, parents are looking to get engaged. 83% say they're extremely or very important from their perspective to be practically involved in their child's schooling. So this is not a generation of parents outsourcing education. They're spending money on education because they value it, but they still want to stay involved.
Yeah, absolutely. We now have 7 living generations, I understand, but why are Gen Y and Gen Z so important to understand today's classrooms if we turn our attention back to the classroom?
Yeah, because these are the generations that are the parents of the learners of today, and the millennials or Gen Y and then Gen Z are also the key staff members in education, the key teachers and lecturers. So from a life stage perspective, at the oldest edge, you've got the builders generation, the baby boomers, and they're, if you like, the grandparents of our school and educational communities. The Gen Xers are in the key leadership positions and still parenting, perhaps in the older years of parenting, but it's the Gen Ys and the Gen Zs that are making the decisions over the pathways of their children, where they're going to be educated, and of course are in the peak of their careers as well. And it's those younger generations, Generation Alpha and Generation Beta, that comprise the students of today.
I'm a boomer. I'm a baby boomer. I'm pretty old, Mark, and I'm also just a grandparent as well. So I'm fitting into that boomer set, and probably people say you're an old man, Gregory. But
apparently, yeah, I'm a millennial.
You're a millennial.
Apparently.
You're a young man. But if we could just break down this, okay, Mark, in all seriousness, the Gen Y and the Gen Z, they're the ones making the decisions now. They're looking for schools. Talk us through those subtle but distinct differences between each of those gens.
Yeah, well, Generation Y are quite sophisticated consumers. They've been exposed to choice and opportunities since they were young. They've seen the investment in education. It's not just something that they see as free up the road, but something they're prepared to spend money on, and they see the value of that. They're busy. They see in their work how it's changing for them, and so they're thinking through the lens of their children what the future of work might be as well. But they value work-life balance, holistic education. They know that it's not just about a job and the accumulations. It's about the broader contributions to life and community and people skills. So they value that as well. And they're looking for schools that align with their values and that really have that values base to equip them to be skilled for the future in terms of the people skills, the leadership and the communication skills, as well as of course, having the key technology skills for the future.
What about Gen Z? Let's have a look at Gen Z and talk us through those differences, because that's the Y, now the Z.
Yeah, and these have been the students, but they're now moving from the learning stage to the earning stage of life. It's been a multi-generational era for them. They're global in outlook, culturally diverse, social media, devices from the youngest age, and indeed as they move into the workforce, AI are very strong. A global outlook, global brands, global places to work and travel definitely defines them in that regard. They've been defined as the anxious generation because times have changed so quickly for them. Perhaps resilience wasn't the number one thing that they were equipped with, rather technology skill. And so equipping them with the character, the fortitude, the pathways and understanding of the trends, all of those factors are key for their future.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at it like this, but your research, I understand, found that many parents want to be involved but face barriers. What's stopping schools from engaging parents a little bit better?
Well, the top areas were things like, that they're busy and they just don't have as much time as they would want to get involved. But if we move past the busyness factor, it's things like not knowing how to get involved. Sometimes the schools aren't communicating as to those opportunities for them to get involved. How do I start? What are the roles I can take on? Sometimes there's difficulty in accessing those events. They might be events to attend or programs to participate in volunteering. But again, busy parents need that clearly spelled out. Sometimes it's that they don't feel valued, perhaps in getting involved in those volunteering or parents and friends type committee work. And other times with, appropriately working with children's checks or checks to make sure that visitors to the school site, adults are really have the right credentials to be involved. Sometimes that can be a block to parents getting involved. So it's quite different to how it was in the past, where parents were up there for reading groups or canteens or going on excursions. A different world. They still want to get involved. They still want to connect. And it's great for the school community when we have that. But there are some barriers we need to keep an eye on.
I found a letter from my primary school thanking my mother for taking part in the cleaning bee as well, things like that back in the day.
And there used to be regular working bees, weren't there? And Mark's right, the way that people do want to be engaged, right? And they can use these tools out there for engagement. I mean, do you have to have everyone sitting in a room to have an assembly? Why don't you bring in parents online via Zoom for assembly? Like, there's ways of engaging. They want to engage, as Mark said earlier. People are time poor, and these are the lessons for the schools, right? These are lessons to say, just because you did it one way in the past, you can't keep doing it that way all the time, can you? So in terms of the great challenges for schools, Mark, is to understand these generations is critical for school leaders aiming to engage effectively with today's parents. And it really is understanding how to do that. What sort of counsel, advice would you give them if we get right down into the nitty-gritty here and really give them the advice that they need, that this research is pointing to?
Yeah, we found that parents aren't just wanting to be seen as customers, paying for a service in education. They want that feedback. They are more discerning in that regard, and they expect that appropriate response. But they are wanting to know that their support is welcomed and that there are opportunities for them to contribute. We found that when it comes to making decisions over schools, it was the values alignment that was very strong, the developing of the life skills of those students and the people skills, as I mentioned. While we sometimes think that parents might be outsourcing increasingly parenting areas, we found that when it came to the academics, that was something, as this data is showing down the bottom of that graph there, they expect the school to take up the lead in because the curriculum is getting more sophisticated and the learning platforms are more technological. But when it came to areas like instilling the values in their children or enforcing discipline or character development or developing social skills, it was seen as a partnership. Yes, they wanted, and this is there in the green colour, they wanted the school to be involved, both the green and the lighter colour there. But the purple is the parents' role, and the parents are definitely seeing that they have a key role in this. In other words, parenting today is a partnership with schools or educational organisations. Clearly for the academics that's the case, but even in these other areas of co-curricular, of leadership development, of character formation, it's a partnership.
So how can schools build, and just building on what you've just said, build those stronger and more authentic partnerships with these new generations of parents and students? There's a lot of people to sort of consider.
Yeah, well, that's right. One way, parents are looking for a bit of input from the schools to know even things like, how do you raise children in a digital era?
Yeah.
What is the future of work amidst AI? Where should I direct my child as I think about the changing industries and careers? And teachers and educators have professional skills there. They're studying these areas. They're dealing with children in that educational, technological world. And so those parent seminars have been really helpful. A lot of schools have found giving that feedback to the parents around how the child is going. But even simple things like having those community days where parents and teachers can interact. Obviously, parent-teacher nights, and as you were saying earlier, they don't have to be just face-to-face. They can be via Zoom or other forms. But all of those interaction points are key to ensure that parents feel part of that school community and that educating children is a partnership between parents and the educational institution.
And Mark, those parents and Mike can get often overwhelmed with the speed of digital evolution and the AI. And what are schools best equipped with? They're best equipped to teach.
True.
And so why not also offer after-hours classes to parents? And say, hey, here are tools. Here's how to use AI. Here is the evolving nature of how pedagogy and teaching is working in the classroom. It's going to develop rapidly over the next 5 or 10 years, the way we impart knowledge and the way students research, and giving parents those tools to keep up, Mark, is critical. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. Schools are on the front line of engaging with the youngest generations, engaging with new technology, and being aware of how to deliver the best education. So they have great strengths to deliver that insight to parents. And of course, parents are wanting the best of that input from schools as well. And schools are these beautiful communities of all of the generations and all of the backgrounds of an area gathered there. And I think that's their strength. They're not just institutional organisations. They're not just dispensers of education. They're authentic communities, and parents want to feel part of that community.
Well said. Mark, I want to thank you for joining us on the program today, breaking it all down. Hopefully we do get to speak again, because as we know, this is going to be an ongoing discussion. Greg and I have been talking about this stuff for a long time, and it's interesting to see where it's heading. I
think we'll have McCrindle on again and again, because this is rapidly evolving. Mark, thank you for being on the program.
Appreciate it. No, great to be with you. Thank you.
This program, of course, brought to you by the team at Inquiry Tracker. Want to discover how this powerful software can transform your school's operations? Visit inquirytracker.net to learn more. That's the program for now. Until next time, we hope you've learned something today here on Beyond Education.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.